And just to kind of start off to talk about this morning's announcement by the Attorney General's office, how was that received by you, your department, officers? How were all these guidelines kind of received by everyone so far?
Well, it's something we've been working on collaboratively for the last several years with the Department of Justice. Because of the nature of the investigation, there were a lot of people involved in the investigation here at the police department. I talked a little bit about that in my opening remarks, how grateful I was for all of the men and women who worked with the Department of Justice over the last several years. The agreement itself, revealed today, is going to be a process that we'll be working through organizationally as we dive into the details of what the agreement is. And we're certainly going to ensure that all of our personnel are familiar and understand what the pathway is forward.
Are you any at all concerned about how officers may receive this, how it's going to work in recruitment to find more officers?
No. We have a wonderful community, which means we have wonderful personnel. The men and women who work here are dedicated to this profession, they're dedicated to this community, and they're all professionals. We've been making tremendous improvements and changes over the last several years. I talked a little bit about it this morning. The Attorney General acknowledged it, and it's even in the agreement as well. So the things that have been happening here at the police department and in the city have been ongoing for the last several years. So our personnel are very aware of it. They understand where the organization is going. They understand the need to protect this community and enforce the law, but also to ensure that we're treating our residents with respect, and that won't change.
Are you concerned about officer safety and just with all these new procedures in place? Is like anything about the safety of the officers, law enforcement, when they're out in the public?
Officer safety is always on my mind. As I talked a little bit before, the men and women who wear a badge and take an oath of service to go serve our community and put their own lives at risk, I have tremendous respect for, and so I care very deeply about things that impact them. And that is something that we certainly thought about and talked about as we worked through this agreement with the Department of Justice. But there's nothing in there that I have tremendous concerns about. We are focused on ensuring that we have the tools and the resources available to enforce the law, to protect the community, while at the same time ensuring that we're treating our residents with respect, and those things aren't mutually exclusive.
And as per the Department of Justice agreement that came out and that was released today with the announcement, it did say that the Bakersfield Police Department was specifically and generally denying the complaint allegations. So you can talk a little bit about how you feel about that, just whatever the investigation brought up these past couple of years?
Yeah, as I said this morning, we do not agree with the findings and the conclusions made by the Department of Justice. But what today was about was coming to an agreement without any finding of fault to really look forward, to find a path forward and allow us to demonstrate that we're a model agency, that we're professional, that we're accountable, transparent, and connected to our community. It is very important. We cannot fulfill our public safety responsibilities without the support of the community. And so we know that trust building and partnerships are very important, and we're going to continue to working to build those.
You spoke now about being a model agency and this morning as well. Do you think that something like this with these kind of agreements and guidelines in Bakersfield community can probably go to like a bigger community? Can this be like a test for something that could potentially work in, say, LA or San Francisco or different parts of the state as well?
Well, what I would tell you is that the police department here is a professional organization, and that means you're constantly looking for ways to improve and constantly looking at what you're doing, evaluating it, finding out ways if we can do things better, soliciting input and feedback on the way that we're delivering our services. And we're engaged in all of those kinds of activities because it's very important to us. As I've said, the men and women who serve this community as a police officer or a member of the police department live here. This is our community, and it's very important in the way that we deliver services.
And with the monitor who's going to be assigned to oversee following the guidelines and the reports and all of that, what is that arrangement going to be like? Will they be here with the police department? Will they be sitting in Oakland? What's that going to be?
The monitoring is a collaborative effort. So an independent monitor will be contracted to work with us. It's a selection process that will involve the Department of Justice. And so both us and the Department of Justice will work on that. The monitor will be here from time to time. But it's really their role is to ensure that we're complying with the terms of the agreement, which means we're providing them information, we're being very transparent with them in the records and all of those kinds of things. That's really what the process is going forward. That's what the monitor's role is. And ultimately it is to confirm with the Department of Justice that we are in compliance. But we're going to be very intentional and very deliberate about this agreement as well. We're not just going to communicate with the monitor, and we're not going to just continue to communicate with the Department of Justice. We're going to work to make sure that our community is fully informed on the progress as well.
You talked a little bit about the community engagement, like you said, involving the community, letting them know. What are those community processes going to be in place in terms of the liaison, the organizations, the information transparency? What is that connection with the community going to be like?
Not much will change in terms of how we go about doing that. Right now we work with over 100 community partners every single year. I anticipate that that will grow now that we can get past COVID. At least I'm hopeful that we can, to re-engage the community. But this is something that we've done over the last several years. This path forward in the agreement, they're outlining some specific ways that we're going to do that. But it is something that we're committed to doing, are doing now, and it will grow into the future.
Are you concerned at all at anything that's come out with the report, the findings, what the community is going to feel about this?
No, we're looking forward to being able to demonstrate, and that's what's really important in this agreement. It is detailed, and in many ways, it exceeds state law. But it really is a pathway forward for us to demonstrate that we are this model organization, and so that we can instill that level of confidence into the community of those that have questioned. And it will also we will also work to encourage those that are working with us now to continue to do so.
What do you want the community to be able to take away from this agreement?
What I would say to the community is I'm very grateful for their support. We have a wonderfully supportive community. But that also means holding us accountable, and we recognize that. And we're going to work to ensure that we meet their expectations.
And with all the takeaways, with all the guidelines that have come into place and just that whole list of stuff, are there three things that you see like most important right now that you're going to look to address like immediately that you think needs immediate attention?
I'll reiterate what I said earlier today and just here. We've been working on many of these things for the last several years, around policies, around training, around supervision. That's where our time has been spent, and it will continue to do that.
Thank you. Good on time?
Yeah, you got one more? Or?
I think unless you want to add anything else, just
No.
about most of the stuff that people should know about, just the guidelines, how the partnership, how do you think that collaboration will be with the DOJ and with Bakersfield Police Department?
Well, we've had some good working relationships with the Department of Justice over the last several years. It was collaborative and was professional, and I'm very appreciative of that.